1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Mm-hmm. 1, 2, 3, 4. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, I haven't. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Hmm.
It will move forward. Here's Katie Hartog again tonight.
Tonight, the pendulum swinging in favor of college sports returning to action. The Big 12 Conference committing to play and release.
By the way, it's recording this meeting.
Yeah, that one. Hi, Sherry. Hi there, George. How are you?
Good, good. I got Angela with me, my son-in-law.
Oh, hello. How are you both doing?
So, I'm not sure,
Great.
I'm not sure what I'm doing here, but I'm ready to learn a bunch.
Oh, good. It's always a learning process in the planning department in cities. They're pretty good. Neighborhood council is really nice.
Nice.
So,
How many of these have you actually done, Sherry?
oh my gosh, I can't even count.
Yeah.
Well, online, you mean on Zoom or
No,
physical?
no. I mean, just
Usually I do them in, at least,
yeah,
well, usually in person.
right.
So usually in person, I have completed, I would have to say at least over 100 probably
Wow.
neighborhood councils.
Oh,
Because it's part of the process. You file a case, you go to the neighborhood council.
yeah. Let me ask you a question. Is there a possibility that they won't allow us to serve?
Usually
Spirit?
they wait, council usually waits for feedback from, pardon?
No, I mean, the council waits for feedback from what? From the neighborhood?
The neighborhood council.
I got you.
So they all are connected.
All righty. So we're just waiting for 7 o'clock to start this meeting, or?
Yeah, we're waiting probably for the moderator to get on and stuff and figure out, or the panelist, because I know you start off as participant and then you get moved to panelist, or depending on how they do it. I've only done, like I said, a couple of them are different. So some of them are do it by the panelists. Some, they have control over what you can and can't do. Most of them. In
Gotcha.
other words, they have control, either to mute you or let you talk.
Gotcha. Oh, so he'll control the meeting. I see.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Well, we'll just sit here and wait patiently.
Yeah, you
Looks like
can
a few
mute your
people
mic or if you,
already on.
Hi, Sherry and George. This is
Yeah.
Randy Freedom, actually, the SCNC president. So the committee chair is Lisa Karajian. So once she comes online, probably in the next few minutes, the meeting will start. Also, you're correct, Sherry, that a webinar would have where everyone's a participant and certain individuals are promoted to panelists, which is how we operate our board meetings. However, given this is a committee meeting, it's not in a webinar format. It's simply in a Zoom format. So you will,
oh, okay.
you'll be allowed to, when there's public comment, et cetera, or if you're presenting something, Lisa will call on you and you'll be off to the races.
Oh, okay. So on a webinar format, I know this is Zoom. On a webinar format, isn't that where the hand is? You can raise your hand to speak.
Yeah,
and
so
different-
those same metrics still apply. The difference between a webinar and a
Okay.
Zoom webinar and a Zoom meeting is that in a webinar, the only people you can see are those that are panelists. In a Zoom meeting, you can see everyone that's on the meeting, whether they want to share their screen or not.
Oh, okay, got you.
So for example, your camera is off, but I see you, there's a block, if you will, that says Sherry Olson and a block for George Marshall. Whereas if it was a webinar, you would perhaps only see the committee members plus whoever's promoted to a panelist.
Oh, okay, I see. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I've only probably done about a handful of these on Zoom and webinar, so.
Well, welcome,
but it's
and
been
Lisa will, I'm sure, will be here shortly, and the meeting will get kicked off. So see you momentarily.
Okay, great. All right, thank you.
I don't really know. Georgie. There you go, Georgie.
Yep, here we are. Good. Did you ever talk to Leah about that house up on the hill?
No.
You never did? Why? You didn't think she'd want to look at it?
Mm-mm.
No? Huh?
Just resting my leg until I have to be there. You can take that chair, yeah, if you want to. I can always sit in the other one. Now smell that pillow.
What?
Anything I have to do?
Yeah, turn on the video.
Guy in the background. There's this.
Want to see, okay, you can see it this way, or you can see it.
Is there anything I need to do on? What is,
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Lisa.
Oh,
do that?
Hello, hello, everyone.
This is the new normal.
Yes.
Okay, Lisa, it's your show. I just handed you over to being host.
Oh, are you leaving?
Not intending to, but I'm in the final steps of putting my son to sleep, so I'm going to step away for about.
Good luck
about-
with that.
as,
Okay.
he's a big fan of land use, so I know he wants me to come back to this. So as soon as I read him a story about my little developer, then I'll be right back.
Okay, because I really would like for you to join in. I have some questions that I would like to defer to you
Okay.
for our email with the bills that you emailed.
Yeah. Sure, no problem. So I should be back. All jokes aside, probably by 7:05 at the latest. But
Oh yeah, no.
all
you
right.
don't-
Okay.
Yeah.
See you soon.
Is hopefully.
Okay. Hi, Sherry. Hi, George. Welcome.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi. Welcome. Thank you
Hello,
for being.
everybody.
Let me see who else is present.
Good cat.
different
I'm going
group.
to step away for a second.
Okay.
Yeah. This is a viral Zoom meeting. First.
Really soon.
It's weird. Feel like I'm in somebody's home.
Because all that shit's gonna come out.
We are.
Are you guys looking on to the pier?
Depends.
We're in the music studio.
Can we take a break from it and then come back to it later?
We're in the music studio.
I give another pass,
Oh,
and
wow.
then they change.
Okay.
Is it a little too,
Well,
warm?
yeah.
Okay, we're waiting on Lana. Dell is here. Jesse. Looking for Jesse.
Cheers.
Hi, everyone.
Lisa, do you see me?
I see Andrew. I
Good.
see Richard Peterberg. I don't see Adele.
Hello.
Hi.
Hey. Oh, wait. Oh, I'm turning on my camera. Sorry. Forgot about that. Oh my gosh. Where did I? Oh, here I am. Hello, everyone.
Hi. Hi, Adele. Waiting on Jesse.
What happened to Good Cat?
Hi, Ben.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Doing well, thank you.
Awesome.
Yes.
Waiting on Jesse to get the committee together to start.
All right. I love Peter Cole's picture.
Yes, very good. Good cat.
Definitely paying close attention.
Hi, Adrian.
Hope Lanish comes up.
Yeah. Hi, Adrian.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
That would be Cosmo. He's excited about land use.
Maybe excited about the cat.
Waiting on Jesse. We'll give it another minute. Because I need a quorum, which I have, but let us make sure. We'll just give it one more minute. 7:02.
Good evening, Lana.
Hello. How's everybody?
Good.
Good to see you all.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
All right, excellent. Everyone is here that is supposed to be here. Good evening, everyone.
Hello.
Hello. I'm Lisa Karajian. I'm the Chair of Land Use. Lana, do you want to call roll?
Oh, yes, I'll be happy to. So sorry, I was trying to get things plugged in and I just need to do this. Okay. Lisa Karajian.
Here.
Jesse Porter. Lana Shackelford here. Andrew Sussman.
Here.
Richard Niederberg.
Yes.
Dean Cutler.
He's excused.
Dale Slaughter.
Here.
Okay.
Excellent. We have a quorum. I do not have an update today, so we will just move right on through to public comments. Do we have anyone that wishes to make a comment? Let me see. Are there any hands raised? No. Going once, going twice. Okay, moving on. Let's move to and introduce Ian Asadurian from Council Member Krikorian's office.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Yes, I have a couple updates to share. If I haven't met you before, my name is Adrian. I am the planning deputy for Councilman Krikorian's office. I kind of have three main topics I'll be covering. So wanted to touch base on home sharing, the mayor's LA Alfresco program, along with the restaurant beverage program. So I will first start with LA Alfresco. I think it, most directly pertains to kind of the COVID-19 situation we're in. So the LA Alfresco program was launched by the mayor's office at the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. Its goal was to help local businesses reopen safely and both allow customers and employees to maintain physical and social distancing by allowing essentially businesses to bring chairs, tables, umbrellas, and extend their restaurant and dining out onto the sidewalk. There was phase one that launched the program on May 29th. That allowed for businesses to provide outdoor seating in sidewalks and then private parking lots as well. Phase two, which launched on June 26th, allowed for outdoor dining in street parking spaces, potential street lane closures, and then potential street closures where, doable, where it worked with communities. And basically the LA Alfresco program offered a streamlined permit for businesses to apply, quickly get permits, and be able to operate their dining outdoors. I'm sure you have all seen, restaurants, extending tables and chairs out onto the sidewalks, in private parking lots. That is, assuming they all went through the proper channels, a part of the LA Alfresco program that has been, pretty helpful to businesses and small restaurants during this time. I think after the governor went and closed indoor dining, more recently, we heard a lot from businesses that was really detrimental to them. So this program, which was launched before that occurred, really aims to try and solve that problem. So we are trying to get the word out about the program. I will be sending Lisa links to everything we discussed. So if you have, local restaurants that are interested in this program, please, reach out to Lisa. Like I said, I will be sharing this link with her. We've heard from a lot of businesses, like I said, that have now participated in the program, that this has been extremely helpful for them, just maintaining, open and rather than having to close their doors. So that is it for LA Alfresco. I will move to kind of one of the bigger topics I've been hearing. We know it's been a problem, which has been home sharing. I've, heard from a lot of constituents in, Studio City and throughout the rest of the district that, there's been an uptick in home sharing activity. A lot of nuisance problems, a lot of concerns now over social distancing and, people seeing large gatherings at, the next door property and people wondering, is this property even legal? And, I'm calling and I'm reporting and I'm kind of getting nowhere with, the home sharing hotline and the email that the home sharing unit provides. what kind of has been the best strategy that I've experienced. I handle all home sharing matters for our office. So if you guys, have a question about a property, please email me directly. I have a direct contact with the home sharing unit that I've been sending all the direct complaints to. There have been a number of listings that we have been forwarded. It is always extremely helpful to have the URL or online link to the listing, because when I send that to the home sharing unit, they can directly verify if the link is in fact legal or illegal. There have been, throughout this pandemic, a number of illegal, home sharing properties that have been a huge nuisance to communities, and through constituents just reaching out directly to me, we've been able to, issue citations and cause, hopefully it's brought some relief to the neighborhoods, because they have been operating illegally and they've become, pretty big problems. If there are valid listings and the, site is still a problem, please reach out to me again. We found that that's kind of just the most effective way. If you know of, neighborhoods or individuals that have a kind of party house in a neighborhood and it's become a bigger problem, the home sharing unit always likes to make sure that there has been calls to LAPD, so that's logged into the system as well. Any paper trail or kind of track record that they can see will help getting, a potential citation process for nuisance for valid listings. That will help get that rolling. So to any, individuals or neighborhoods that you hear that there's a problem site, and I do verify that the site is valid, make sure that there is a paper trail of calls to LAPD, and we will help facilitate that process with the home sharing unit. But I know that that has been, our office and the home sharing unit both has kind of been inundated with a lot of home sharing issues, because I think right now people are resorting to Airbnbs and VRBOs versus staying in hotels. So just feel free to reach out to me directly and I can verify that for you. Think that is it for home sharing. I will move on to the restaurant beverage program. So about a year and a half to 2 years ago, this was an initiative that our office introduced. We instructed the planning department to look into potentially streamlining processes for local small restaurants to obtain a conditional use permit to sell alcohol. I think now more than ever, we've seen through this COVID-19 pandemic, the small businesses, are the ones that are really struggling right now. So essentially what the restaurant beverage program aims to do is it aims to shorten the time required for city approvals from essentially months to weeks to get that permit to sell alcohol. The proposal also reduces the cost of an alcohol permit from around what is now today around $13,000 down to $4,000. So that really cuts the cost down significantly. This program is not meant for nightclubs, bars, liquor stores. So all of those, types of establishments would not be eligible for the restaurant beverage program. They would still have to continue to apply through the regular discretionary process that involves the public hearing that we're all, used to. There are over 50 operating standards that these small local restaurants would have to abide by in order to even be eligible and be approved into the program. Some of the kind of key main provisions include you have to be a restaurant with an operational kitchen and a full menu. Food must be served during all operating hours. The hours of operation for the restaurant have to be limited to 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. So that 11 p.m. close is really to kind of cut out those bars that we see that do eventually sometimes unfortunately become, potential problems for the neighborhood. You cannot have any live entertainment, dancing, karaoke, DJs, outdoor TV monitors and music is both prohibited. So you would not be able to participate in that. Only ambient indoor music would be allowed. So that's, kind of some of the eligibility criteria as well. The restaurant would also have to be subject to 2 unannounced visits per year. But it would really the point of this program is to really target those small local more mom and pop restaurants that we hear from that cost to obtain a conditional use permit sometimes, in some cases, has put restaurants out of business trying to go through that process. And it's just extremely, costly for them to go through. So it's not meant for the larger scale bar, nightclub, restaurants that, that we see could potentially become, problems that would participate. They would still have to go through the normal discretionary process. This program was heard at the City Planning Commission on June 25th. It will now have to go through its normal city process, so it will next be heard at the Planning and Land Use Management Committee. It has not been scheduled yet. So this program has not been, it's not final, it's not approved. It has not made its way through council yet, so I will be sure to keep you all updated. There is a fact sheet about the restaurant beverage program that I will be sending to Lisa as well, and she can share that out to anyone who is interested. And I think that is it for my updates. If I have any questions, if you have any questions, please let me know. If you think of them later, please reach out to me directly or let Lisa know, and we can get connected.
We do have questions, so if you could just hang out for a second, Adrian. Barry Johnson. I need to unmute him. Has to unmute.
Hello. So I have a quick question. If we qualify for that, but later on wanted to have a more in-depth license where we can have some entertainment and so on and so forth, is there any problems there, or can we start and then move and grow?
Yeah, so as it has been explained, to me, you cannot have any of those activities to participate in the program. So even if you initially, registered and became eligible and participated, you would have to follow the operating standards, and you would not be able to, then participate in, entertainment, karaoke, DJ. So if you wanted to go that route, I believe you would no longer be, eligible in the program, and you have to go through a normal discretionary process.
Gotcha. Okay.
Barry, did you have a question?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
You can?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. For Adrian, I was just curious on the al fresco. Is there an end date or one that will be attached to it at some point? I just hate to see things that are started and then 5 years from now, just because we've had it, somebody's going to say, oh, it goes on forever. And I want to know that there's an end, or somebody will put an end date on it when we know what's happening with a vaccine, because parking is going into neighborhoods because restaurants are using their parking lots for something else. And I understand that for the present, but I want to know that, the council office and the other 14 council members are going to put an end on this at some point when the business goes back inside, and that we don't end up 4 years from now just saying, oh, we started it and we're not going to stop.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, this was not a council-initiated program. This was created by the mayor's office. Right now, I don't believe they do have an end date, because this was launched, under the mayor's emergency order. Typically, the programs that we've seen, enacted during the emergency order last throughout the duration of the emergency order, which right now doesn't have an end date. So I will be sure to keep you all updated as, if there is a sunset date on the program. I know that, with various, weather constraints as we get into the potential, fall and winter months, that also could affect, the stability of the program too. But I will keep you all updated as I hear from the mayor's office. Right now, just with the emergency order and everything being so up in the air, I don't know if there is an end date set for this program.
Thank you.
All right. Richard.
Well, yeah. Of course, I'd like no sunset date, but I'm more concerned with what's the density? How many in every community are you going to will be allowed?
So I am not sure. I don't know if they have a cap on the number of restaurants. I think the goal was to make this accessible to, you know, restaurants that can participate. So I don't know, you know, how long. Typically, the program is, and Barry, kind of this goes back to your question. I'm just seeing it in one of my notes here. It's 90-day permits are granted throughout the duration of this. And there also is no limit on renewals. So that's why, you know, kind of going back to that sunset date there, you can renew. I don't know if there is a cap on, you know, the number of businesses in a council district or neighborhood that can participate. The mayor's office would probably have better information on that. It's hard. We're trying to facilitate this program and get the word out, but it ultimately is being conducted by the mayor's office.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Let me check if there are any hands up. No one? Okay. Well, thank you, Adrian. Very informative. Really appreciate it.
You are welcome. And like I said, I will send links and attachments to everything I discussed, and feel free to either reach out to me directly, or if you want the information from Lisa, I will share it with her so she has it as well. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adrian.
Bye.
Okay. Fortunately, Jessica Fugate from Councilmember Krikorian's office couldn't make it tonight. So Adrian did touch on the Airbnb home sharing. In regard to my constant complaint about the county parking lot on Ventura Boulevard across the street from Public Storage and the Boulevard Hotel, all questions, complaints are to be directed to Sheila Kuehl's office. Because it is a county parking lot and she oversees, her office oversees that parking lot. So moving on from that.
Can I raise my hand?
Absolutely, just go ahead and ask the question.
Thank you. Just the fact that the Hollywood Bowl is not operating this summer,
Correct.
had it been as usual, they make sure that lot is relatively clean when they're using it every night. And unfortunately, because they've not been using it, and
That's right.
if you look at all the Metro lots around there, there's very few cars parking there to go on Metro now. So people have just seen an empty place to park and come in, which is unfortunate, but it looks like a third world country. But yeah, I think you're right about contacting Sheila Kuehl for cleanup.
Correct. Since, like you said, the Hollywood Bowl buses aren't parked there, traveling out of there and to there, Metro has nothing to do with it. So Sheila Kuehl's office, I have her email address to the contact person. I will provide that for you if you choose to write in a complaint email. I would really appreciate that you do. So,
and I didn't mean Metro had nothing to do with it. I just meant that people parked there to ride Metro, but now that ridership is down, they're not even parking in that lot to ride on Metro.
Right, but because of the buses, Metro would take care of the parking lot during the Hollywood Bowl season and keep it clean. So, so Sheila Kuehl's office, everyone, I would really appreciate that support in keeping that parking lot clean and given attention to. So moving on to number 8, we're going to be discussing the Sportsman's Lodge Hotel at 12825 Ventura Boulevard, who are in communication with LAHSA, the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority program. So the representative for Sportsman's Lodge, Ben Bentley, is here to give us an update. Welcome. Hi, Ben. Unmute yourself. Yes? Yeah. There you go.
I'm trying to get my light right
You're
here.
good.
We're here. I'm here at the lodge right now.
So
Right.
now you're completely out of frame.
I know, but this is the only way you can see the hotel. So
Okay.
so I'm broadcasting live.
Yeah,
It's strategic.
This is number 8, we're 9.
There we go.
Okay.
So, Lisa, first of all, thank you very much for including me in this on this meeting agenda.
Absolutely.
I guess I'll give you all an update or sort of a summary for those of you that don't know what's going on here at the Sportsman's Lodge property on Project Room Key. And
Yes.
if anyone's interested, I can also give you an update on how things are going with the retail construction, if that's okay, given the
We're interested in all of it.
okay noticing requirements and all that. So Project Room Key,
Yep.
for those that aren't aware of the program, this is something that was a program created by the governor. It's available to cities, counties, different agencies throughout the state, county, and the city have been working together for, I don't know, 4 months or so to stand up, hotels where, the goal is to find either older, unhoused, or also homeless people, 65 or older, or who have an underlying medical condition that would make them very vulnerable to COVID. These are not COVID positive people, they're vulnerable people. And the goal of the program is to reduce the spread of COVID. I think one of the benefits that the program has is that it brings people to hotels such as ours and surrounds them with all kinds of services, health services, mental health services, and medical, as well as housing. I guess we call it sort of housing support services, and has a very thorough medical and security, check-in process. So the program started up, the staff started moving in on Monday. It had our first residents last night, and then they're filling up the rooms that we've allocated for this program. We have allocated the 5-story component of the hotel. So that's the building behind me. It's a total of 148 rooms. And
Okay.
as of tonight, we expect about 85 of those rooms to be filled with individuals. These are individuals and occasionally individuals with pets who have actually been the outreach based on feedback from a few members of the neighborhood council that I received input from, as well as the Residents Association, directed me to a number of locations, which I then passed along to the operators who are running it. And they've been doing outreach in areas specifically around Studio City. So, if you see a decrease in, people living under particular bridges or in certain parking lots, that may be due to this program, because that's where they've been doing our outreach. And if you find areas that are within the neighborhood or places that you'd like to have housing as a group that's operating, email me directly, or Lisa, if you would want to pass on anything to me, I'll pass it on to the staff, and they'll be doing outreach continuously as long as the program is going on. We signed a 3-month contract, and then it can continue month to month after that. We anticipate that it'll wrap up in December, and that will be at our election as the property owner. And that was the deal that we struck with the city when they approached us with this. And I'll stop by saying that so far it's actually run very, very smoothly. And if anybody is interested in kind of checking out the program, you can walk through the program and see that it is extremely well staffed. 7 full-time 24/7 security guards here. There probably on a given day, there are 45 different providers from LAHSA, LA Family Housing, medical treatment, housing services, and everything. So it's very well staffed, very well run. And I myself spent a lot of time over at the Airtel Hotel before we agreed to take this program on, because I wanted to understand how it runs and how it affects the surrounding neighborhood. And granted, Airtel is in a very different community than Studio City, but I personally felt very comfortable with what I saw after several hours there. And so far, it's run very, very smoothly. So we have our fingers crossed. I would be surprised if we don't have an incident over the next couple of months. But as I've told, those folks that I've talked to in the neighborhood, and I'll reiterate to you all that really anything that you see that is concerning, please let me know, because I can then turn around and let the service providers know and let the LAHSA reps know, and they'll be all over it. I mean, they need more hotels. They need good press and not bad press. And so they've so far have proven to be very eager to address our concerns. And I have a lot more to say, but I'll stop there in case there are any questions.
So you said you had a 3-month contract?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then you do again for another 3 months, or is it in 3-month increments, or?
No, it's month to month. After the 3rd month, it's month to month.
After the 3rd month. Okay. Anyone else have any questions?
In terms of the program, what is the, so after the 3 months, hopefully you get these people back on their feet. What's beyond that, beyond giving them housing, what's the plan with the people? Because they'll just end up on the street again eventually.
Well, maybe. I mean, I think we're obviously dealing with a problem that's taken a long time to it'll take a long time to completely resolve. The objective here, first of all, get COVID vulnerable people off the street, so that
Gotcha.
Spreading it among the population. Number one. Number two, it is to get people out of this program and some other form of supportive housing. So, as it's been explained to me, the people that are moving in now shouldn't be here in a month. They should be moved. They should help really put into the best place they can go. So the way the program winds down is we give our 30 days notice, and then they start kind of letting people, move out. And then eventually, if there are people here on the the last day and they need to go, then LA Family Housing is the service provider that the county has put in charge of. They'll have other places for folks to go.
All right. It's a great program.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So are they working on, is LAHSA working on making sure that there's permanent housing for some of these folks who are going to be out within the 3 months or the 4th month, or 5th month? Because it just sounds so temporary. It's a temporary fix. Are there plans of permanent housing?
I think there's I think I'll try to answer your question in 2 different ways. This particular program, these particular rooms are temporary. I mean, we are still building out our shopping center. We hope to be open in February, and we were very excited to need this to end a good amount of time ahead of that, so that we're actually planning on renovating the lobby, and we'll continue to renovate the lobby of the hotel and the rooms of the hotel, ideally so that as the shopping center opens in the spring, the hotel is refreshed and is open in the spring. Now the status of the particular people that are coming through here, I would say that a fair number of them are probably equipped to move into permanent housing of some sort. Some folks that I've seen here, I would guess, are not ready to move into permanent housing and are going to have to move to another, sort of much more supportive environment.
Right.
But again, I think, unfortunately, the nature of this problem is that we, as a, city, state, community, whatever, simply haven't allocated the resources to truly create a permanent solution. This is a way to, again, number one, try to slow the spread, and number two, as many people as possible, prepare them to go back out. And you would imagine, the success rate is, not as high as we'd all hope, but hopefully a number of these people will move on to something better.
Mm-hmm. Barry Johnson has a question, and I'll move on to.
I was just going to make an observation for the people that live north of the river. There was some concern that people staying at your hotel right now might wander into their neighborhood, but in looking at it, having driven by, the fact that the construction is going on next door at Coldwater means that there's no exit onto Coldwater currently from the hotel. The only way in and out is from Ventura. So I think the fears perhaps for that neighborhood can be lessened because nobody's going to be walking out from the hotel to Coldwater and walking into their neighborhood. If they did so, they'd have to do it from Ventura. So the fact that that construction is going on right now in this situation may be a blessing.
Yeah, that's correct. The only entrance for people not working on the construction site is at the southeast corner of the property. So that's where we're leaving.
Next question, Adele.
I have a couple of questions. Did you say there was one person per room?
Yes, one person.
So you're keeping it to that. So it's not families moving in.
Well, it's so as it's been explained to me, this is coming from the operators. There's a woman named Chris Freed who's managing this project for LA Family Housing, and she's one of the part of the senior leadership at LA Family Housing, and she has experience with this program in other locations. And her description to me is that everybody gets their own room, and what will happen from time to time is that people will actually couple up, and that's not allowed. So occasionally, some percentage of rooms may be occupied by two people, but it is not family housing; it's individual housing, and they're.
And so, what do these people do during the day?
They do primarily three things. They have a tremendous number of appointments. There's health appointments, there's housing appointments, there's kind of mental health appointments, and so they've got a very structured day. Number one. Number two, there's some amount of kind of walking around. I haven't we're just filling up, so I haven't seen what happens on the inside of the building yet. But when I was at Airtel, a lot of people just walking the halls and walking around outside and looking for a place to sit and talking with each other. And then the other thing that people are doing more than anything is probably watching television. So we left the cable on, we left the internet on, and I think that if I had to guess, people spend half their time watching television, 20% of their time, 30% of their time in service appointments, another 20% of the time kind of.
But so my question is sort of every day someone's checking on them. And my question stems from reading an article that in a program like this in San Francisco found a meth lab in one of their hotels. And, I really don't think you want that level of activity. So just wondering if you're having, sort of social workers checking in on them, making sure they're not get suicidal. I mean, if you're homeless and you're in a room, all of a sudden, lots of bad things can happen if they're all alone, for too long. So that was my worry about them.
By we, I mean myself and Midwood, the owner of the property, have the same concerns and have the same concerns as we were getting even considering this. And I'll say that, first of all, the operationally, one thing to note is that the project room key is a misnomer because nobody gets a room key. Only the staff have keys. Every time somebody leaves, they check out, and every time they come back in, they have to be let into their room. So somebody looks in their room every time they go in and out. The rooms are regularly cleaned by our hotel staff. So our hotel staff is actually doing the room cleaning and again, what time I spent in the Airtel and a few of the rooms that I peeked into, I'd be curious to know how somebody did anything that elaborate. It must have been a total lapse of oversight. The other thing is that I'll say is I really, and again, if to the degree anybody's interested in learning more about the program, LA Family Housing has a really great reputation. I thought they were doing a really great job at Airtel, and they're just all over it. I mean, they sort of know everybody, individually, and I think we have a lot of confidence in talking to them and kind of understand their level of engagement, that that they're observing everything that's going on. And finally, there's just no place in these rooms that could happen. I mean, the walls are I don't know, they're pretty hard, and the floor is concrete, and I don't know where you would build.
Bathtub. You just need water in a bathtub.
Well, I've not
that I know anything about making meth.
I don't have a lot of experience with meth, but look, I'm sure people can do things like that. But again, that's
Sudafed. I think you need Sudafed or something.
But I think that's again that is, look, it would be foolish to think that crazy things aren't going to happen here.
Yeah.
You would sort of monitor it. Again, there are lots of security on every single floor. There's a 24/7 security guard on every floor.
You said total, right?
What's that?
You said 7 total security.
Yeah, one per floor, and then we've got people out in the parking lot roaming around.
Right.
But no, I think to my comment, like if anybody sees anything, we hopefully never leaves the to let us know what's going on.
At
Peter,
Airtel. Okay.
Peter Cole has a question.
A couple questions. Ben, I just texted you a report that I got from the Citizen app on Sunday. It was, I believe it was on or right next to your property, says man with a machete. So I don't know if, like the other one that I texted you a month ago about the, well, you know what it was. I'm just curious if the security guards are catching this, or this was not a real report. Also, it's my understanding that the room key residents are under the same lock and key as the rest of us are. In other words, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. they're allowed, they may have appointments and whatnot, but they're free to move about the community.
To your second point, that's correct. They have appointments and they have things they need to do, but they have free to go and walk in. That's just part of the program. And again, it's monitored when they leave and monitored when they come back to make sure that they're, we have some sense of like who's coming and going. And by the way, they can be removed from the program for any sort of that's that's endangering anybody or sort of endangering anything around. So and that's part of what LA Family Housing does, is build a relationship with the tenants and let people know that this isn't guaranteed. You sort of need to follow the rules or you lose the privilege. Your first comment, yeah, we have a really strange uptick in I presume they were homeless, but probably 3 different people in the days right leading up to Project Roomkey. I heard about a machete, but I never actually saw a photo or like heard any direct kind of first person account of it. But we had a couple of other people that got inside the construction fence, and we kind of in reaction to that, in anticipation of this starting, we increased our security to 24/7 with 2 of our own folks. So we have 2 private security guards here supplementing the 7 security guards for the program.
All right, well, if there aren't any other questions, Richard Niederberg, go ahead.
Yeah, at Airtel, are they allowed to go into the conference room wing and then from there get onto the tarmac one way?
I don't think so.
Because you can go to the conference center, you can go out, you just can't come in without a key from the tarmac. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and here I presume not. I don't know the answer to that specifically, but the deal here is very prescribed where folks can go, and as noted earlier, we have an active construction site, so we've got that very much secured for both the safety of the people that are participating in Roomkey as well as our own construction folks. So really, the only access out is at the corner of Ventura.
Thank you.
I think that is it with questions. Is there anyone else who has a comment or a question for Ben before we say goodbye? All right, well, thank you so much for the update. We really appreciate it. Should we need to get a hold of you, you are accessible, your office is on the property itself.
Offices are on the property. We are, we're obviously observing like all of the precautions and wearing masks whenever we go out. If anybody, cares to check out the program, I'd say just send me an email ahead of time so we can coordinate it.
Okay.
Whether, Lisa, you want to direct any questions or comments directly to me, or you're welcome to give out my email address and I'll respond to folks individually.
I will do just that. Do you want to give us a quick 2-minute update on the shopping center?
Yeah, absolutely. Really couldn't have picked a better time to build a shopping center. We're pretty excited. Great. No, construction is going actually remarkably well. We have, over the course of the last 5 months, we've actually only been down for a day and a half for COVID-related stuff. We had a couple of individuals that were tested positive, and then we closed the site and did a full cleaning and sent everybody home, and nothing happened from it. At this point, it looks like the buildings themselves, we may resequence some work because the tenants are taking longer to get their act together. Anticipated, but not, at this point, it's not a surprise. So we may resequence it, but the buildings should be done in like another 6 or 7 weeks, like plastered and glazing, and the buildings will look like what they're going to look like.
Okay.
Exciting. And then we'll spend October, November, December just doing site work. We've got some trees to relocate. We've got a lot of paving. We've got to, finish building our water feature. And then we've got to eventually redo all the parking lots that we're going to do the entire property. So in front of the hotel, east side of the hotel, behind the hotel, and then the part immediately north of the shopping center. So currently construction is expected to be done by the end of the year, and waiting for our tenants to build out. We had a tentative grand opening of February 18th. I'm hearing that might be March 11th.
Hang on, Ben, hang on. We can't hear you. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
You're being upstaged by the dog.
Oh, so no, I think right now we're looking at sort of an earlier mid-March grand opening, and it's just driven by a handful of our tenants pulling from it.
You're fading out. Hang on.
Can I suggest that everybody mute themselves unless they're talking, except for you, Lisa, because we're hearing a lot of background noise.
Right.
Okay.
So if you're in a dial-in phone, actually a lot of noise. Lisa's coming from a phone number ending in 719, so you might want to mute them. Just mute them.
719. Thank you. Thank you for that. Go ahead. Can you continue, Ben? You were saying March?
Yeah, I mean, the published date we're getting all the tenants to aim for is February 18th, but if I had to guess, it'll probably push into early March at this point.
Okay.
But the center will be done well before that. It'll just be tenants finishing their construction.
Right. And are all the storefronts leased out, or do you still have a few to go?
We're about 70% leased in terms of square footage. Now, a big one is Equinox, and then another big one is Erewhon, so that's probably 47% of it. So
Right.
of the remaining shops, more than half is leased. We actually we just signed another lease yesterday, and we're looking at a few more to sign. So we've had some, surprisingly decent leasing activity given all that's going on.
Okay, that's good.
I mean, if I can share, a totally unqualified perspective from a couple of these tenants, I think they're all anticipating that this is going to get better by the spring, and they're ready to start spending some money, on their build out in the next 2 months once they have visibility towards that, and that they could open, if not on a grand opening, then soon after.
Very good. Peter, did you have another question, or is your hand up from the previous question? Peter Cole?
Probably from the previous question. Well, actually, can I ask a question about Roomkey?
Yeah, sure. Yes.
Oh, just I think in San Francisco there was an article that I saw that participants in the program that had drug and alcohol problems, that they weren't required to go cold turkey while in room key, and that was those libations were provided to them in the program. Is that true, or what's the story with that?
Is it true in San Francisco, or is it true here at the Sportsman's Lodge?
Well, I don't know what goes on at the Sportsman's Lodge, but in San Francisco, I heard that that was indeed true. So yeah,
I don't know. I cannot verify what happened in San Francisco. I can tell you that we are absolutely not providing any alcohol, and that it is, as I understand it, it is a policy that it's a dry site. The people that come here are not dry typically, and so it's kind of a, again, this is my own understanding. I don't know what the official policy is, and I can get more information on that if you'd like. But my understanding is that they're part of the treatments that are happening. Some of it is addiction treatments, and so if somebody is caught, you're not removed from the program. You're sort of put into more programs to try to help you figure that out. Because I think as Chris Fried would say, it's sort of a no harm policy where, what they're trying to do is, number one, get people off the street, prevent the spread, and sort of help people out. So they're going to give people a lot of chances to get dry, stay dry. If they're not there, more counseling. And if it ever becomes disruptive, that's when I think they would step in and move people out. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and then quickly, so you do or don't have an exit strategy from the city? So if they're going to be there for 3 months, where do these people go afterwards? Is there a plan?
Yeah, the plan is that, first of all, the folks that are here are not here long-term. They have stays that range from a few days to a few weeks. I would expect that the people that are moving in now won't be here in a month. And so, you'll have a natural attrition. We give them 30 days notice. We could give them more notice. And then at that 30-day point, they start winding down and moving people out to new facilities. And then at some point, if the program's ready to terminate, and we would give them notice well before, that we would absolutely need them out so that we could extend it and let them kind of, get everybody moved on. But that was the very first and very last question that we argued over this contract, is we need to know that when it's over, it's over. We can't, we're trying to open a shopping center here. If something goes terribly wrong, we need to know that we can terminate it. So, so I guess the two answers to the question are, we have every legal right to just close it. And what we would do is, do it with lots of notice so that they have time to cycle everybody out and find new facilities for people to go to.
Thanks.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Ben. If there aren't any other questions, I'm going to have to say goodbye.
All right. Thank you guys very much. Have a good evening.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye. All right, moving on to number 9, presentation, discussion, and possible motion to Vivian's Restaurant, conditional use permit to allow the sale of beer and wine of on-site only in conjunction with an existing 1,235 square foot restaurant with seating for 28 indoors and 50 outdoors, with the hours of operation 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. 7 days a week. Case number ZA-2020-3925-CUV, ENV-2020-3926-CE. Address is 10968 Ventura Boulevard in Studio City 91604. Representative Sherry Olson presenting, owner George Marshall right here with us.
All right.
Thank you for joining. So go ahead and let us know what your plans are. Tell us about your project.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Lisa, and board members. We are requesting support tonight for a beer and wine license, a type 41. It's a family restaurant license. You have to have a full kitchen, and we do. A lot of our customers have been asking for beer and wine, and George has been at that location for many years, and would be an asset to his business. He has plenty of seats on the interior and exterior. Most of his dining is on the patio. He has an indoor patio and exterior patio as well. And as you said, he's got 50 seats outdoor and 28 indoor. And he's asking for support. He has went out and gained parking from a lot that's 2 doors down from him to have additional parking if, you know, for his customers. But this is going to be an asset to his business, and we're here to answer your questions, your concerns, and we look forward to it. And Lisa, per our conversation, I believe about a week ago, you and I discussed about the painting, the power washing and all that. I don't know if you had a chance to go by there, but George, when I brought it to George's attention, he took note of it and he made a lot of difference in there. So definitely listen to the community and paid attention there and did a lot of changes to enhance the location. It's beautiful. I don't know if anybody's been to Vivian's, but the patio is very, it's very enticing. It invites a lot of guests. It's a beautiful patio with a lot of shrubs and plants and everything. So it's very, very nice, very well kept. And he's been a good community neighbor. So we're here to answer your questions.
Okay, yes, I did go by last night. I did notice that the sidewalks had been power washed, which I really appreciate. Thank you for making note for our conversation and taking care of that. Vivian's has been there for many, many years. It's a great breakfast, lunch restaurant. I'm assuming you're going to be opening later, which is what your CUB calls for, into 11 p.m. Now, is that a hard 11, or is it going to be 10 p.m., 9 p.m., or are you going to just see how it starts to roll out with the beer and wine?
Definitely, we'll see how it rolls out. I mean, we're excited about trying to extend to dinner hours. We're just going to have to take it one day at a time. Especially with the pandemic right now, it's been really difficult for the business itself. But we're hoping that with the added hours that we can extend it, and offering the beer and wine, it'll be an asset for people to want to come and enjoy, a glass of wine with a nice meal. So that's what that's what our customers have been asking for. So it'll all depend on the clientele. It could be earlier, and I mean, obviously it won't go past 11 p.m. We'll stay within the guidelines of the city code. But right now, our intentions are just to open it up to be able to serve the beer and wine and see where we are with our hours by our clientele.
Okay. And with the restaurant Manti next door and the Gray's Tavern, the bar, parking is very limited in that area because of the bus stop right there and red zones. So you said there was parking 2 doors down in the lot. Which lot is that exactly?
It would be 2 door. Go ahead, George.
Oh, yeah. So towards Hollywood, there's a couple of 2-story buildings down a little ways, and Ratner Properties in Studio City owns them. And they were nice enough to let me rent some of the parking spaces. During the day, they're about half full, and then in the evenings, we have the place to ourselves. So I don't think we'll have any problem with parking. In the Manti, in the Gray, they're going to have valet, and we're probably going to split the valet with them, and they can use some of our parking spaces.
Right. I mean, because their valet is in the back.
Yeah, in the back.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
Are you going to have your valet picking up in the front, or are you going to be?
No, it's just going to be in the back.
Same in the back.
Yeah.
Same thing. Okay. Anyone else have questions?
Yes.
Look, go ahead, Barry.
I just 2 quick things. I was curious, one, if your parking requirement changes with the conditional use permit, and 2, I don't remember in our land use meetings ever seeing an 8 a.m. start time for beer and wine. I'm curious about that, but I'm guessing you maybe would offer a brunch and it would be perhaps mimosas or something. Is that the reason for the 8 a.m.?
Correct.
Yes, it is. And also regarding the parking, we are in compliance with parking. We are in the state enterprise zone, so it gives us parking relief. But however, we're offering way more than what is required for us. So we are in
Okay,
compliance with
because
parking.
you know, Governor Brown abolished the state enterprise zone a few years ago. But so yeah, you answered my question though, because if your parking requirements don't change with this, it's the same that you'd be under now.
That is correct. Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Barry. Lana, did you have a question? Richard, unmute yourself, please. Unmute.
I understand. Just trying to see, is it exclusive use of an X amount of parking spaces that you can call yours, or you just shared with the other users?
Well, we do have 4 in the back, you know, in the back alleyway. We have 4 between the building in the back and the building next to us. So that's ours. But we also then, of course, have off-site parking that that's rented.
Are any of them handicapped?
One is. One will be.
Thank you.
Okay.
Will your menu be different for dinner, or is it?
Yes.
pretty much- Yes?
Yes. Although breakfast, anytime you want it.
But there will be there'll be an evening menu. Though.
Yes. There'll be an evening menu, but if you want pancakes, how can we say no?
Right. Well, one of my main concerns for the area is for the beautification of that end of Ventura Boulevard. My main focus is to make sure that all the businesses are very inviting and look pleasing to the eye, with fresh paint, new awning, power wash sidewalks, so to attract as many customers from the neighborhood as possible and beyond, obviously. So anyone else have a question? Jesse, Adele, Andrew? All right. We'll go ahead and move to the motion. The Land Use Committee of the Studio City Neighborhood Council recommends that the board of the SCNC take the following action. Does anyone want to bring the motion of support?
Motion that we approve it.
Yes?
Do I have to spell it out? That we approve the request for the use of beer and wine
Yes?
from the hours of 8 a.m. to 11.
Mm-hmm.
Case
So
ZA.
are you going to bring the motion forward, Andrew?
Yes.
Anyone second?
I'll second.
I second it, but I think we're not approving it. We are recommending approval.
Correct. I'm going to read that.
Thank you.
Just a quick point of order, Lisa. There was a hand right as you were just asking for the motion. There was a hand that went up for public comment from a Truman Caps.
Okay.
Hi, I'm sorry about that. That was a mistake. I was actually thinking we moved on to the next motion. Please continue.
All right. Thank you. So Lana, thank you for that second. So the motion will read as follows. The board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council supports and approves the conditional use permit to allow the sale of beer and wine of on-site consumption only, in conjunction with an existing 1,235 square foot restaurant with seating for 28 indoors and 50 outdoors, with the hours of 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. 7 days a week. With the condition that the sidewalks get power washed every 3 months.
How about we say supporting the applicant's request?
Supporting,
The applicant's request rather than approve.
supporting the applicant's request for the conditional use permit. And so forth. I'll read that first sentence again. The board of the Studio City Neighborhood Council supports the applicant's request for the conditional use permit to allow the sale of beer and wine of on-site consumption only. Let's take a vote. All in favor?
I'm sorry.
Excellent. The motion passes. I'll bring this to the board next Wednesday at 7 p.m. I'll go ahead and email you, Sherry, all the details.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, board.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Good night.
Good night. Is that a cricket in the background?
Yeah. They're outside. They're outside George's window.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, cricket.
All right.
Wow, now.
Yeah. Oh,
Congratulations, George Marshall.
yeah.
Thank
Good
you.
night. Thank you.
Looking forward. Okay, moving on to number 10.
What?
Yeah,
And then I just go.
Presentation discussion, possible motion, submit CIS for bill legislation before the California Assembly and Senate Committee. So let's go ahead and open up the floor to Housing Bill A with the SDNC's Land Use Committee in support or opposing of the following bills. SB 1299, rezoning of idle retail sites, repurposing of commercial spaces for low to moderate income housing. I included the links for everyone to click and follow, to read and do your due diligence. Anyone have any notes? Any comments?
Okay. I'm opposed to it for reasons that we've discussed before about density, et cetera, in the Studio City area.
Right.
Which one are you opposed to? You mean 1299?
Yeah, that's what we're on right now.
Yeah.
Can I speak on this, or does someone else
Yeah,
want to?
yes. No, sure.
This bill 1299, which I actually, well, anyway, it would repurpose commercial spaces for housing. It would allow cities to make use of retail spaces that are sitting idle. And although it does go around CEQA, it was, it also, most retail spaces have been through a CEQA process. And I think that this bill of all the bills could accomplish a lot in terms of housing, using retail spaces for low and moderate income housing. Most of the other bills that we're going to talk about tonight do not do that. And this bill transforms existing resources without, I don't believe that it goes around the density requirements. So I'd have to look into that further to be sure, but most of the housing experts that I looked at support this bill.
So Randy and I had been exchanging emails in regard to these bills, and you had had communication with a friend of yours from a senator's office, I think it was?
Yeah, so council. So Senate District 26, Ben Allen is a state senator there, Santa Monica, Manhattan Beach, et cetera. So his So Ben Allen and I were in a youth group together, went to college together, et cetera. So anyway, I reached out to his office because, as you and I talked about, just the general concept, right? And this will happen, I think, throughout the SCNC, where you have issues from one that are under the purview of perhaps one committee will cross over with another committee, right? So these are all bills that are still within the legislative process. And so it's a good argument that these are government affairs related issues, but they're all related to land use, which I also recognize. And so anyway, so I had reached out to Ben Allen just to get a better sense, or his team, to get a better sense of where these bills stand in terms of how urgent are they that we address them. So specifically, for example, SB 1299 on the 3rd of August was amended, and it was referred back to the Appropriations Committee. So if they make any amendments or any changes, and after they come out with their report, the Appropriations Committee meets once a week every Monday. The bill then has to be read again a third time on the floor of the Senate before it could be brought to a vote, and then it goes into a process between the Senate and Assembly for the governor. But anyway, that's where it's at.
I have a question.
Sure.
I apologize for my ignorance, but I don't understand what appropriation means.
Sure. So in the state of California, any bill that has an impact of roughly, well, I should back up. Appropriations means any bill that is deemed that it, from the legislative analyst office, that may have a financial impact on state revenue, one way or the other. Usually, I mean, if it's negative, usually they don't say anything. But if it's going to cost the state, that usually then has to go to the Appropriations Committee. They decide whether or not there's a fiscal impact. They can decide there's no fiscal impact. If the impact is less than $150,000 per year, they usually then place that file in what's known as a suspense file. And if it's greater than that, they'll come out with a report and they vote. And sometimes they'll amend a bill. They'll instruct the bill to be amended based on, actually, you know what, I just played back on what I just said. It's the reverse. If it's more than 150,000, it's not put on suspense. If it's under 150,000, it's put on suspense file because it's determined to have a low financial impact. But anyway, that's what appropriations do. They decide the money. They're the ones.
Right.
They're the ones who weigh in on the financial impact of any bill.
Interesting. Andrew?
Yeah, I would just like to make a comment on most of the SB bills. And I appreciate the work and the summary, and I read it and I went through it, and it seemed like, oh, this is easy. Yes, yes, no, no, whatever. It was all very clear. And then I clicked on the actual bills and I read them, and I found a big disconnect between the summary and the actual bill. And I did not agree with the summary, and certainly some of the agenda or point of view. And I think unless anybody, and it changed my view completely. And so I think we should not vote on this, or I would feel remiss if someone were to vote on this without having actually read the full motion, because I think the summary does it a disservice, and it has not covering at all. I can go item by item and different points, but I don't think now's the time to do it. Also, I would like to make a comment that this is a state motions, and they are really addressing a lot of municipalities that don't have city planning departments. LA has a very strong city planning department that has addressed all these or many of these things, and it won't be even appropriate or affect LA. So there's a lot of nuances in here. It might not change the ultimate recommendation, but I really think it should be spent with some more time and gone through a little more thoroughly. And I think the summaries need to be, it's okay for this summary, but it needs to be, well, I'm writing a summary in favor of or opposed to, as opposed to it coming across as a neutral bit of information, because they're not neutral at all.
Right. Okay.
Very
Thank you.
biased. That's all.
Noted. Let me see who has their hand up. Barry Johnson?
Yes, I would agree with Andrew and also say that in the past, when we've had a lot of these state measures, the SCNC president has sent out a e-blast basically saying what the bills are and links to the bills, and encouraging our stakeholders to write to our assembly member and our senator. And the numbers of people that will write and reach our two representatives will mean a lot more to our representatives than a motion from a neighborhood council, which they don't really recognize anyway, unlike Krikorian, because we're a city entity. So I would encourage our president to do that. And I keep in mind time is of the essence, because they adjourn August 31st, and then they're off for September and October. Theoretically, it's the time they campaign for the November election. So they'd have to be called back into special session to meet during that time. So I suspect they're going to rush and try and do some of these things between now and the 31st. So I think that president's e-blast and on our website and to social media would be excellent to get our stakeholders and not taking a position either way, just giving some factual information and links to the actual bills so our stakeholders can write in.
Well, to that, Barry, I did include all the links to every bill in the land use June agenda, as well as the one that were actually July and now August.
Yeah, I'm not saying you didn't. I'm just saying if the president does it, he needs to do that as well.
Right. Okay. Noted. Anyone else have a question? Lana?
Not so much a question as just piggybacking on a little bit from Randy and Barry about the information and maybe where it might be more appropriate and yet also is in our sort of
purview.
Yeah, purview. And I'm so glad that Michael DeLazar is here, our outreach person, because I feel like in conjunction with a letter that may come from our president, along with whatever motion we may or may not support or whatever, I'd love to have the support of the outreach committee, just sharing the information to contact the representatives, like Barry was saying. It's so important, you know, to get that reach for the individuals to be knowledgeable, to also make those calls. It's one thing for us to summarize and send out some information, but we can really maximize all of our talents here with our committees to reach folks and really notify them. So that's kind of my recommendation or thought or whatever.
Thank you. Noted. Peter Cole?
Hi there. I was only half listening. I was making dinner. But is there a reason why this can't be discussed now, even if you don't vote on it? Because I would assume as a committee, you've all done your due diligence here. And Randy raised the question about it going to GAC, but I have not seen any trace of a GAC committee. I've heard about a new chair, but I've not heard the chair write a letter explaining a position, anything. I don't know anything about a GAC committee. It seems like it's defunct. So being that time is of the essence here, it would make sense. Why not just discuss this now? This Zoom call goes out to the public. It's nice to hear the different viewpoints at this point in time. And that's one of the reasons I joined into this call. I wanted to hear what your thoughts were on these bills.
Why don't I have Randy tell us about the Government Affairs Committee and about Lois?
Well, I can just respond to that. So Government Affairs Committee, and actually, Peter, that's a valid point, something that actually Lisa and I exchanged and addressed in emails. Because the committee has not had their first meeting, they'll be meeting in September. And because these bills are, time is of the essence, these are all of these bills that are listed are kind of at the halfway mark, 50% through the legislative process. And the back 50% actually tends to move a bit quicker. That it made sense to go ahead and discuss these. So to be clear, I actually said in an email to please go ahead and discuss them. But the committee will be meeting in September, and then hopefully moving forward where there are issues that cross pollinate, if you will, or across purview, committees will collaborate. But absolutely, let's talk about, and I think, Lisa, you had members of your committee that each one was assigned homework, if you will, right, on each bill or all of them collectively?
Yeah, that was last month. Let me see who else has a question.
And you also have Truman Capps has had his hand up,
Yeah.
I believe.
Yes.
Calling Truman?
Yes. Hi. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Hi. I'm a Studio City resident. I've lived at Ventura and Vineland for 8 years. I just wanted to voice my support for items A through F. I think that they provide much needed reform to the city's single family zoning laws. I think that our current low density housing and zoning laws in this community have led to a lot of issues in terms of unhoused individuals. They make it harder to rent in this area, and they make people have to live further and further outside of the city and commute further in. I think that these bills would encourage more density, and I think that that's a good thing, and I would encourage everybody to support them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any comment? Okay.
Do we have, we're doing board comment?
Sorry?
Are we doing board comment? Is that right now?
Jesse, is that you talking?
Are we?
Yes, go ahead, make a
Yeah,
comment.
can you, sorry, am I breaking up?
Yes.
Okay, terrific. Well, that comment is appreciated, Truman, I'm sure. And I think that all of us agree that density as properly written in legislation is something we all welcome. I do think that Adele's point, a point that was sort of repeated throughout her summary document here, was that a lot of these proposals really just don't, in a way that
Unfortunately, you're breaking up, Jesse. Jesse, you're breaking up. You've frozen.
Okay, I'll type in the comments and see if maybe you can read it.
Do we know what he said?
I don't.
And are we still on 1299 only? We haven't gone to B yet?
Yes, we're actually discussing this as a whole at the moment. Is he back? Jesse, you need to unmute yourself if you're.
Yeah,
yes.
Can you hear me at all?
Yes, better. Can you please
Oh, great.
start?
Okay, real quick recap. I think that Adele's point, which is well taken, is that a lot of these bills have potential issues with the absence of a true low low-income housing mandate. And I think that, you know, density without those provisions that that codify the need for low-income housing don't necessarily do much to exacerbate the kinds of problems that we are facing with Studio City. It's not that we would necessarily be opposed to those bills or types of density bills overall, but the imperative for low-income housing is just so high, and something we all have to take into consideration whenever we're making any kind of recommendations or commentary on these bills.
Can I make a response, or am I not allowed?
Truman?
Yeah.
Is that you?
Yes,
Yes.
that's me. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Certainly, I agree that there needs to be a focus on low-income housing and setting us. It can't all just be market rate housing that goes in. But currently, under the current zoning laws that we have, you can't really build any affordable housing whatsoever. I mean, when there's single-family zoning, which is in place for 75% of the residential areas in the city, it makes it illegal to build anything other than just a house with a yard, which means that no affordable housing can be created. So I just am concerned so often in zoning discussions in the city that we let the perfect be the enemy of the good. And, you know, I mean, if we want to see more affordable housing measures added into some of these bills, then certainly let's advocate for that. But I don't want just the default position to be no until we have something that's perfect.
Adele, go ahead.
Well, that was one of the reasons why 1299 seemed like a very good bill, because it uses spaces that are gone fallow, that are commercial, and it builds low and of moderate income housing. And in some ways, you know, I'm not sure that we have a housing crisis because we don't have enough places, or we have a affordable housing crisis. And that the developers tend to build things that are very expensive. And so like younger people who can't afford, you know, $1,900 a month for a 1-bedroom can't live in this area. So, you know, so that's why I was in support of the 1299. And to speak to what Andrew said, when I wrote up my summaries, I did read all the bills very thoroughly. I went in, and a lot of them on the surface look great. Like, wow, this is so great. But when you read deeper, you read how they aren't so great. And they aren't, you know, as a city planner, which I'm not, but I studied in college a little bit, you have to think of all the things that can go wrong with a bill and all the little hidden bombs that are in a bill. And that's what my summary indicates, are the little hidden bombs, the dangers that are possible. And I also want to say, before you start saying no, Andrew,
I didn't say no, I just shook my head.
that SB 902 was voted in yesterday, was sent to the Appropriations Committee, as Randy said, as was SB 1120. And, but SB 902 was, I wrote in my summary, there's a first half of the bill and a second half of the bill. And the first half of the bill was stripped from the bill. And the first half of the bill was the part that gave the city or a board of supervisors the ability to overturn any citizen initiative approved by voters that restricted land use for open space, shoreline protection, and or other land protection. So that got taken out of the bill. And the second half of the bill was that cities could change the zoning, allowing 10-unit apartment buildings in single-family neighborhoods with no affordable units required. It also does not require CEQA. And, you know, I mean, listen, if, in families, in land that has granny flats, you could get up to 15 units. So.
I think also, you know, actually I didn't raise my hand. Sorry, Lisa, can I join?
Okay,
So I think, so a couple of things. So just to go in order, we'll start. So, but to 1299, I think one of the things that we're going to have to for me, as aside from the reasons that Adele has already mentioned, is that there is an appropriation component. State of California is currently facing a $54.3 billion deficit, largely courtesy of COVID-19. And so I don't think that when the state is looking at that sizable of a deficit, I think we have to look at these bills as well, not only at where there are shortcomings in terms of affordability, but also what is the financial cost. So 1299 has an appropriation component whereby it will require the Department of Housing and Community Development to administer a program to provide grants. And that's for upon completion of only moderate income, as Adele mentioned, no low income. And so that's also, I mean, just for me, from a fiscal point of view and as a taxpayer, that's also a concern, because we have to see what is the fiscal impact going to be? How much money is the state going to put towards these grants? Also, these grants are being awarded to, going back to notes. Right, so if they're going to be funding the local governments that are working, for example, big box retailers, commercial shopping center, and it's between 80 to up to between, they define moderate income as 80 to 120% of the of area median income.
Mhm.
And that can't be denied. And as Adele mentioned, and nor is the subject to CEQA. So for me, I think that this, as Adele says, that to me, that's another bomb, if you will, or another issue with the bill. And so that would be my take. We'll see what comes back from appropriations, and if there's any amendments made. And then
could we write up something that said we like the idea, but it needs to be, it needs to have CEQA, it needs to have these things addressed.
Andrew, question?
Comment?
Yes?
Okay, we're supposed to raise our hands if we have comments, right?
Yes, go ahead. I'm calling on you.
Yeah, to these, I don't know if we should, I don't want to go through each and every point of these, of the motions, but I think, even the comment that, we're not getting affordable housing, I believe that it has become so difficult and there are so many obstacles in the way of obtaining permits and approvals. It is now takes longer to get approval than to build the project. And whether Adele took planning or something in college, well, I took planning in college and I used it for 35 years. So I am familiar with that. And I've been working as an architect for 35 plus years. So I know how difficult it is. And I believe that because there's been so many obstacles and roadblocks put in front of anybody obtaining a building permit, that's why we don't have housing. And it's not just high-end housing or low-end, it's all housing. All housing would be built if it was available. And then the new housing, as it works, fills in some of the higher end, and some of the other ones that are older stock become more affordable. That's how it works. But it's just a matter of housing is housing, and nothing's been built for so many years, or very, very little. But that's the reason. And I think whoever made the comment was making these voting against things because they're not perfect is counterproductive. And I don't understand this comments like CEQA. We used to build projects without CEQA, and there was still plenty of guidelines and rules. CEQA is not a wonderful thing. It has gone way beyond what it's supposed to do, and people and neighborhoods have abused some of the guidelines of CEQA.
Mhm.
I mean, I could go on, and this is, crazy. And, just comments like, appears the bombs, what appears to be an attempt by developers to take over city councils. That's not true. It's just not true.
Thank you.
We're going to vote on things or, go through whatever.
Oh, that is too cute, Michael. So having listened to all the comments and looking at the big picture, all right, I want to.
And I'm raising my hand.
Oh, I'm sorry, Barry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, keep in mind that many of these bills are coming from a senator in San Francisco.
Correct.
San Francisco has a very different layout than we do. And one size does not fit all. And I just feel like I don't want to be dictated in local zoning by the state of California. And as I look at our screen right now, at least 11 out of the 15 people online tonight, I happen to know you are in single family homes. People put their heart, soul, and life savings into a single family home. You cannot discount that. And I, for one, do not want a 10-unit apartment building next door to me as far as my home value that I've invested in. And I hear what the renters are saying, but it's a total unfair situation to put that on the single family homeowner, the burden of having the home next door to you torn down for a 10-unit apartment building. That's why we have zoning in the first place. And I don't want to give it away to the state, and that's what these bills do. I'm not saying our city council is perfect by any means, but I think we can work with them better than we can work with a state mandate. Thank you.
I'm raising my hand right now, FYI.
Let me see. Truman?
Yes, hi. Just in response to that, speaking as a renter, I don't have any ill will towards single family homeowners. I don't want to destroy the equity in anyone's home, but if there's a question of fairness, it's also pretty unfair to renters to have to try and survive in a housing market like this one, where there aren't apartments being built, where it's illegal to build apartments, where the cost for a studio apartment is, in the thousands of dollars. And, in terms of a one-size-fits-all housing policy, I would say that a zoning law that says that in 75% of the city, the only thing you can build is a single-family home, that's one-size-fits-all. So, there is an argument to be made for local control, certainly, but for the past 30, 40 years, local control has resulted in shortage. We've got more and more people living on the streets because they can't afford to live in this city. Like, what we've been doing hasn't been working. Changes need to be made. And I honestly don't think that a mix of single family homes and small apartments in residential neighborhoods is the end of the world.
Thank you. Andrew?
Yeah, I mean, that's the same. That's the point I started with. Barry, this is Chicken Little saying the sky is falling. That is not what's happening. You're not going to get 20-story building, 10 units next to your house. That's not what this is about. And to keep, saying nothing's going to get done, or I'm not going to vote for anything because of this, is a disservice. It's not accurate, and that's not what these bills do. And yes, the guy is from San Francisco, and one size doesn't fit all, but it's also supported by other state senators. He's not the only one. He could not bring it as an individual. So, I mean, you just can't keep with the hyperboles. The sky is falling.
So, okay. Lisa, I'll just give you one last thought, and you'll decide how you want to move forward. Justin, listen. I mean, I'll just say that in listening to strong comments on both sides of the argument, and Truman, I appreciate your input as a renter. I acknowledge that I own my home. Well, really, the bank does. But I do want to say that a number of these bills, 902, real quick, 902 still needs a second reading because it was re-referred back, so it's still going to have to come out again for a second full reading before the Assembly, and then a third full reading before the Assembly, before it then goes on to the Governor's office. SB 1085 also was referred to appropriations, still waiting on its second and third reading. Well, only a second reading again if it's amended. So on for 1120, 899, and AB 725. And knowing that there's strong feelings on both sides and the complexity, it's up to you if you want to continue the conversation. But and then we'll even talk about it often as well. Barry's idea seems interesting to me.
So what I would propose, having listened to everyone and looking at these bills and hearing what everyone has to say, I think today is the 12th. The 31st is a couple of weeks away. I think what we need to do is have an introduction to Lois with government affairs. I think we need to put together a special meeting with her in August, as soon as possible. If I could ask you to help me, Randy, in making sure we make that happen. I think these bills need to have an unbiased opinion attached to them. I think the idea of getting the outreach committee to send out the appropriate, what do you want to call it?
Send out the links, right? That you even.
Thank you. The links attached to Instagram posts. I'm not on social media, so I'm sorry if I don't speak the language. But Instagram, Facebook, email blasts to make sure that every constituent that wants to know anything about this does know. I don't think we're ready and versed with what I have written here in just a few sentences. I think gets the point across. Having listened to everyone, I think we're better off tabling this tonight and making sure that we follow the appropriate guidelines and actions to make sure that we have a powerful letter that we write on behalf of the neighborhood council, Studio City Neighborhood Council, to our assembly members and our senator. I think that is, in my opinion, that is the right way to go tonight. Can I have my committee's comments on it? Yes, Richard.
I'd like to add one thing. Remember, in the city of LA, you're allowed to use some residential uses in C zones. And so we can regulate that here without having the state tell us what to do.
Sure. But what do you think
also,
about what I just said?
you said,
Are you for tabling it or not? And sending it to the Government Affairs Committee?
it's fine what you can do as chair.
Thank you. Andrew?
I would still like to make comments, but I think what Barry said, that we can write individual letters, is very helpful. So, but I think I'm fine with moving on to affairs.
Adele, and unmute yourself.
I mean, I have a lot more information that I found out, about these bills.
Okay. And you also have two other bills that you wanted to introduce, right?
There's two other bills that I don't have. Yeah, I would like to introduce them. Can I?
Those were 1279, AB 1279, AB 2345.
Yeah.
There's AB 3040.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of bills that are up right now. I did want to say that on 11/20, two councilmen of our city council wrote in opposition to it, and two other councilmen wrote to support it. So, you know, these bills are controversial, and
Very.
you know, the problem, and I, you know, to speak to what Andrew said, when you read them, at first you're like, wow, this is such a good idea. And then as you read further, you see the problems that they're going to cause because they're not fully thought out, which is why bills go into appropriations and get rewritten and stuff gets taken out of them. That's what makes them so hard. And
the measures are really deep.
Say what?
The measures, they go really deep.
And there is a lot going on, and a lot of them are coming out of San Francisco, which is much more of a you know, multi-family unit city than we are. And I actually have to say to Truman, I just sort of looked it up, and it says that LA is about half single family homes. So not 75%. So just that's not a true statistic, or at least it's a questionable statistic. So, and the problem is every day, you know, they just voted on two of them yesterday. And you know, what I found out was not very many, maybe about 4 or 5 neighborhood councils wrote letters to the city council to give their opinions on all of the bills. So, you know, I can see that it's a very difficult process, and it will take a lot of discussion for us to come to, you know, a point where we feel educated enough to make a realistic vote.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Lana?
I support you, Madam Chair, in tabling these to a special committee meeting. Hopefully that would be able to take place, if possible, before the board meeting, since we have an end of the month deadline on some of these.
Well, we can see if Lois is available Monday night, if possible. We'll try and make something work. Thank you for that.
The best thing is still Randy sending out an e-blast, getting our stakeholders to send their comments in. Those comments will mean much more to our representatives than anything that could come from this neighborhood council.
I agree. I agree with that. And I agree with doing the thing on Monday. That's good.
And it would give Adele time to introduce the other bills.
Actually, Adele, if you don't mind, I'll reach out to you. I don't know what your schedule is tomorrow.
I'm free tomorrow. I can
Okay,
talk.
great. So I'll reach you offline. We can talk about those bills, because I think it's a good idea to send to cast a wide message regarding people to read this. I know the SCRA has been doing it. Toluca Lake Residents Association has been sending out a lot of these.
Yeah, Rampart Village is doing it. Valley Village is doing it.
Exactly. There was a town hall that was, there was another neighborhood group that did a town hall on the west side about a number of these bills. South Bay. So yeah, so we'll connect tomorrow, and let's talk about these bills, because I certainly think, you know, there's a lot of meat actually in each one of these. And I think sometimes just the challenge of clumping it all into one meeting is each one of these could easily be, you know, when you dig into the weeds, could easily be hour and a half, 2 hours,
Right.
to really kind of go through them. So anyway, but I'll touch base with you, Adele, tomorrow.
Okay.
Thank you. Jesse, did you have a comment?
No, Lisa, I think it makes sense. Yeah, the meeting of the two committees certainly makes a lot of sense.
Thank you. Richard?
When we look at Bill 1120, it must be done in light of our small lot ordinance, which may solve some of the problems. I think they have to be one in light of the other. Thank you.
Right.
One final thing I'd like to say, maybe our outreach committee might like to put together a few town halls even after our board meeting, you know, like a few town halls or something for all these stakeholders that we're going to reach to come weigh in. I don't know. It's
I
not
think it's
what it has to be, but it's a thought maybe consider.
No, it's a good idea. We need to get the stakeholders involved.
I think Michael loves me giving him things to do, don't you, Michael?
He loves
But I
town.
think they need to
That's all
click
he
on the
did.
links and read the bills. Click
right.
on the links and read the bills.
That's right. All right. Unless there are any other questions, I'm going to move
We have a
with,
public comment from Peter Cole.
oh, Peter Cole.
Hi there. Always hard to find the unmute button. So just watching in with the eyes of people that are looking for unbiased information, we all have our own biases on
Sure.
things that affect our pocketbook. For instance, I'm happy to say I've lived in my house for 33 years. It's taken me a long time to save and pay for it, and it's 1,100 square feet, and that's my retirement. So I'm going to have a certain bias, as everybody else on this committee is. I don't know which one of you live in a 500 square foot home or, you know, a 10,000 square foot home. I don't know, but depending on what your stake is in this, you're going to have a bias. And I don't think it's fair not to articulate that when you state your viewpoint. So I'm in favor of what Barry was saying, that everyone should write in their comments. But
That's right.
Anyway, you get where I'm coming from. Thanks.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much. I'm going to go ahead and table number 10, moving to number 11. So this needs more attention as well. I'm going to send this CD 02-0608 to the Government Affairs Committee as well for the committee to vet. And then I would like to state that I would like to, moving forward, work with the Government Affairs with anything that has to do with housing and land use. I'd like to state that for the record. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll state for the record that and it's being recorded, that I support that. And my hope is overall that our committees, you know, I really appreciate Michael. So another shout out to you. Thank you for being online, because these things, that there are a number of issues that will cross currents. And I think that it's important that we all play nicely in the sandbox, because actually I think
Definitely.
we'll be able to get more done and have a stronger voice.
Absolutely, and that's what it's all about. I know our mission statement for land use doesn't involve legislative issues, but I would like to start working on the mission statement to expound on that and to start, looking at fresh ideas to be more inclusive with the community. I don't want to just say, well, I don't want to handle that because that's just outreach, or that's just government affairs or whatnot, sustainability. And I think we all need to be a team and work as a team to make sure that our community thrives in so many ways. And our voices get heard. So with that, are there any comments from members on subject matters?
I had my hand up for number 11.
Oh, yes, please, Barry. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I was just going to say, in reading it, that they have sent it to the CLA to give them recommendations. That process of getting recommendations from the CLA always takes like 6 weeks. So I don't think there will be any problem for GAC to comment on this one, because it's not even gone to, it has to go to the CLA before it will even go to a council committee. So we do have some time on this.
Right. Well, I appreciate Rachel Tobias for bringing it to my attention. I so appreciate that. And we will work with government affairs on this. Thank you, Barry. Any other, Andrew?
Yeah, no, I'd like to address Peter's comments and Barry's and Adele's as well. I mean, I think, like Peter mentioned, that we should express our bias or whatever. And I think that will come out in the comments. But whereas Adele and I, or even Peter and Barry too, I think what we want to accomplish is probably far more similar than dissimilar. It's just how we think we're going to get there is what's different. But I appreciate everyone's passion, especially the amount of work that Adele did, but I know how much I spent, and I can imagine how much she spent. And so these are complicated issues, and unfortunately, especially here, God is in the details, and it changes. So I don't have a solution. I appreciate Barry's suggestion of writing the letters, but also as we express what we believe, from my point of view, it's mostly how do we get there? Everyone values their home, but whether we're going to build homes or apartments so our city is not overrun by the homelessness, which will really increase the value in a negative way of your homes, versus not allowing a 4-unit or a 3-unit building in your neighborhood or housing. So that's the approach. That's the interesting thing. How do we get?
And unfortunately, we've had 5 decades of city council members and mayors that have done. They've done nothing but.
Andrew, stop it.
They've done nothing but vote on approve things that took away garden apartments that were affordable, and until there was a state law which came decades later to say they had to replace the same amount of low-income units with the same number. But I mean, for 50 years, we've been eliminating affordable housing, and the council members and the mayors have gone along with it with the developers. And the only one that's profited literally are the developers for 50 years. Everyone else has suffered.
We're not going to comment. Thank you, Barry. Adele?
Are we on number 12 yet?
Yes.
Okay, good. Because I would like to add, this discussion reminded me about the Southeast Valley Community Plan, which I think should be on our agenda. I know that they're working on it and they might come out with a plan fairly soon. And has it come before this committee before?
Yes, many times.
Many times. Okay. So
and it's legislative.
Oh,
yeah.
So maybe we can work with Lois on that as well. But also, I don't know. Yeah, I think we should be talking about it because it's going to come out soon. And I did go to one of those meetings and met Miles Orr and saw, and so I know a little bit about it, but can we put
and
that?
There will be another presentation in the next couple of months.
Yeah. So do we need to talk about it, or maybe just with Lois?
Oh no, we'll bring it back into land use for sure.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, great.
Okay. Anyone else? Let me see. Are there any? Peter, you're fine. Barry, you're good. I appreciate everyone for attending, for your comments, all your hard work. I really, really appreciate it. Anytime in the future you do have anything that you'd like to have land use take a look at and consider and put on the agenda, please send me an email or give me a call or a text. And with that, those are my closing comments. I move to adjourn. Can I get a second?
A second.
You, Adele. Meeting adjourned. Have a great night, everyone. And a
Thank
beautiful.
you. Thanks, Lisa.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.